another update, which is fantastic news. And this is 1.22.3 and it's called a maintenance patch. It's got some very interesting bits in it. So they've obviously been having a look at the Macs and their reaction to Vintage Story, which is fun. So they have built a native Apple Silicon version of the game for Mac OS. It should work on any Mac built since 2022, including M1, M2, M3, etc., and recent MacBooks. This resolves a large number of issues previously running the Mac Intel build on Apple Silicon and improves performance significantly. Good news for Mac users. They've had a tweak in that red top grass is no longer a food for bees or butterflies because it's now wind pollinated. And also tamed elk no longer eat our crops, which is again good news. While constructing a water wheel, we will be warned if no rapid flowing water is found. And also the construction of a water wheel cannot proceed if its rotation would be blocked by solid blocks. In addition, large entity selections, that's above 100 via command, is now auto-declined if the caller lacks the privilege large entity selection. Rusted heavy gates now require tier 2 copper or better pick to break. Okay, now again back to Macs. They've tweaked it to allow Macs to run the game in game mode to improve performance. There is now an alteration that is thrilling me. Pigs and sheep will no longer be aggressive after generation 2. Thank goodness for that. I have been going through all sorts of ideas in my head as to how to sort of construct platforms to reach automatic feeders to feed my pigs and sheep so that I don't get killed all the time. So I am thrilled that the aggression stops after generation 2. The other thing I am pleased about is that they've added various new mechanics to the mechanical power guides in the handbook, and that is the metal windmill rotor, the grindstone, the water wheel, and the spur gears, etc. I'm very pleased about the spur gears in particular. Another small tweak, which actually I like a lot, is that they have made it so that the fire starter and the snow shovel are now tool rackable. I mean, this is great as far as I'm concerned. It's just been an annoying thing to have to store the fire starter on the floor. They fixed that breaking an axle block dropped unstackable blocks, for example, planks with a different orientation. They have fixed the fact that the wall-covered axle wasn't considered a full block. Oh, that's interesting. They have fixed rare crashes when interacting with lanterns. I'm glad that I haven't had one of those. They have fixed missing language streams for the Blue Meanie and Laughing Jim mushrooms in recipes. And also they fixed the fact that pulverizer caps were sometimes invisible after reloading a world. Whoa. Now apparently there was a wrong interaction help for cabinet doors and boat construction, and it said if the shift stroke control key is not set to sneak stroke sprint. Yeah. Anyway, that's been sorted out. There was a typo in the Worm Grunter handbook entry. That's been fixed. Also, we were unable to place a partially full jug onto a shelf with another liquid container by holding shift. That's been fixed. The quenching handbook guide incorrectly stated that you need to hold shift and right click to quench. It's not, it's just right click. And that some metal would be lost on a failed quench, and in fact all the metal is lost on a failed quench. And again, back to Macs, they have fixed that the crash reporter properly opens now when crashing on a Mac. They fixed that zip archived mods were able to write files to arbitrary locations during decompression. Good grief. And they have fixed that players would be able to interact with auctions form far away. In addition, cupronickel and electrum metal plates had the wrong smelting ratio. They have fixed a crash on invalid forge block entity or invalid forge block type. And they fixed that mods that had game stroke survival stroke creative as a dependency were shown incompatible since 1.22, even when they were actually compatible. That's interesting. Let's go back and have a look at some of those mods. They fixed that player spawning would heavily favour locations closer to the centre of the spawn radius. Well, as I've now fixed my spawn, I'm okay, but that's surely helped to start with. And they have fixed a crash when using arrow keys to navigate an inventory with no slots. Also, rounding errors could cause a full hunger bar to show us only 1499 satiety. They've also fixed that horsetail was incorrectly described as a flower. I've always found it odd that horsetail was able to feed bees and that it is counted as a flower, because I live in the UK and the horsetail we have here, which I know may be a different variety, is just this scrubby little, sort of literally like a horsetail sticking out of the ground, and it's a highly invasive weed in the UK. Anyway, they fixed it's no longer described as a flower. They fixed that alum did not have an in-container texture. They fixed the fact that tile slabs were missing placement mode recipes. And back to this legendary rawhide tunic. I think I've mentioned this in every single update along with the snow shovel. They have fixed the rawhide tunic because it was using the wrong texture. That's not the first time that texture's been an issue with that. They fixed that the grindstone hardbook entry mentioned multiple levels of grinding, which was not implemented. And they fixed that certain fish, and that is the crappies, chubs, shad and tilapia, when cooked whole, were cooking into medium cooked fish when they should have cooked into a single piece of cooked fish. They've also done 3 API tweaks. The first one, they've added mini generation and max generation AI task conditions for execution. They've fixed a crash when burning something in the fire pit that rots into something that doesn't rot. That sounds truly odd. And the final one is they've fixed people unable to properly empty contents of a liquid container onto the ground. So, dozens of fixes, good news for Mac users, and for me personally, a huge plus in that after Generation 2, our pigs and sheep will stop being aggressive, which I'm really grateful for. So, and the saga of the snow shovel continues, and the rawhide tunic. Why is it there are some things that just seem so difficult? But another nice update. I hope you've enjoyed this. If you have, leave a like. Bye bye, my friends.